On December 1st of 2023, the world bore witness to the birth of an icon. Rising from the ashes of its fallen brethren, a brand new color film stock blazed onto the market and into our hearts with its limited edition emulsion and snazzy packaging. This is Harman Phoenix, the first ever color film manufactured entirely at the Harman factory in the United Kingdom. And it's one of only a handful of new color film stocks that we've seen in decades. So I get pretty jazzed about this stuff. The film community is expanding, our power is growing, we're influencing producers to produce nice things again, regaining our strength in the marketplace. Like the mystical phoenix, this new film represents hope, rebirth, and transformation. It signals the beginning of an exciting new chapter for one of the world's largest manufacturers of photographic film. Is a quote from the Harman website. In this video, I'll go over the specs of the film and some key takeaways that you should know before deciding to shoot with it. Then, I'll talk about my own experience, how my role turned out, what I loved, and what I would do differently next time. Finally, I'll talk a bit about Harman the company, who they are, what they're about, and what other products they're responsible for producing. Throughout this video, I'll show examples of my own photography, both edited and unedited, to give you a better idea of the results that you can expect from one of these rolls. This film is described as an experimental, limited edition color film. Basically, Harman is saying, don't get used to it because we're going to be tweaking the emulsion a bit. It retails for $18.99, around 20 bucks with tax. This product comes as a 35mm roll with 36 exposures. It's processed in C41, and Harman has recommended a set of scanner settings to be used by the lab to attain the ideal color result. This is because the film does not have the orange mask that many Kodak films have. Instead, this film has a yellow base, so colors can turn out a bit wacky if it's treated like a Kodak stock. This has a box speed of 200 ISO, and notably, it also has a very narrow exposure latitude. Based on other reviews that I've seen online, it seems like it's better to pull it than to push it. But no matter how you shoot it, it will certainly have a lot of very thick and noticeable grain. This thick grain is one of the defining characteristics of this film, as well as the extremely vibrant red tones. Harman Phoenix lacks an anti-halation layer, leading to slight halation in certain light areas. The developers have expressed hesitation about whether or not consumers will like the halation, and I just want to say, I like the halation, please leave the halation in the next iteration of this film. Experimental film consumers love halation, okay? That's the whole reason why people buy Cinestill, and Cinestill is controversial and costs $30 per roll right now, and people are still buying it, and it's because of that beautiful halation. Don't get rid of it. I'll riot, I'll cry. I'll cry and riot outside of the Harman factory. I'll plan a trip to the UK and I'll bring a half dozen film bros and we'll live stream it. All of us have YouTube channels. Harman recommends that users shoot this film with ambient and natural light, though I find it does have some really beautiful effects with electric light as well. I actually can't decide which set of results I liked better, but I do have some opinions, and with that, let's talk about my results. I shot my roll in two distinct environments. The first few sessions were in studio using a combination of continuous and strobe lighting. So all of the colorful lighting in these photos is continuous from a set of LED panels, and the white light is from a strobe with an optical snoot attached. I shot the second half of the roll in bright, sunlit conditions on snowy winter days in Winnipeg. It was very cold. Some shots were taken at sunset, others at high noon, and still others on overcast days. Obviously, the first thing that stands out in any of these photos is the red tones. This is absolutely wild looking. I was shooting with a red LED directed at a goldenrod backdrop, so some of the richness is from that combo, but honestly, like, I've never seen anything close to this level of color saturation on film before, period. Even with Cinestill, which is known for its like high saturation, this is next level to me. I missed exposure on a few of them. This set that came out the best was the set that I accidentally metered at 100 instead of 200 ISO. And I've seen other folks online saying that it's best to meter at around 160. It seems to me that if you're shooting indoors at least, overexposing by a little bit might be a good idea. I'm a big fan of this spooky look overall, and the red colors are just perfect for it. The grain structure is very thick, but it reminds me of like music posters from the 1980s. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting anyways. I'm not mad about the grain structure at all. I think it looks really cool in a lot of these applications. This film does have great contrast, and it has this inky blackness in the shadows that I find really impressive. One thing I really care about in film is what color the shadows are, and in Harman Phoenix, it seems like they're pretty close to true black, with just a slight hint of jewel tone green in certain lights. I think the color range on this is interesting. I wish that I had had more colorful subjects to test it out on. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of greenery around when I was shooting this in Winnipeg in December, but I did get these shots with the blue artificial light, and I'd say that the blue tone comes across very nice and rich. Although, having said that, as soon as the film is underexposed, it loses almost all of those colors and goes really muddy. I don't think that these shots are that underexposed. Like, I don't think I fiddled with my camera settings all that much between this shot which worked out and this shot which didn't. So when I say that there's a very narrow exposure latitude, I'm not exaggerating. I think it's very narrow. I recovered this shot in Photoshop pretty well, but just for comparison, here is a raw digital image of the scene, and here is what Harman Phoenix captured. And as you can see, they are quite different. And these were shot with the same camera settings. I always shoot my digital test shot first and then the film shot after when I'm shooting in studio, so identical camera settings, very different results. It definitely doesn't have good dynamic range. The highlights are blown out in almost all of the studio shots, which looks cool in this case, but it definitely curtails the usefulness of this film if you're not going for like a novelty effect. This image, I think, is a good case study because it has completely blown out highlights and inky black shadows. So it's got both ends of the dynamic range in one image, and this is not a ton of light that is causing this kind of blowout to happen. This is shot with all continuous light, so it's not like I, miscalculated the brightness of the strobes or anything. Another interesting note about this is that it's got a white light coming down from above, and then it's got a purple light aiming on from the side. So it's interesting that we have so much of this turquoise color coming in, because none of the lights were that color. I have read reviews that describe this turquoisification of electric light sources, so it's interesting to see that coming into effect in this set. Okay, enough about the studio colors, let's talk about the natural light shots that I got. My favorite natural light shots, no surprise, were taken at sunset, with the golden last light of the prairie sun hitting different organic materials. This shot of the tree line is definitely a favorite, but this one of the beavered tree is another winner. The red and yellow tones render perfectly. There were some double exposures here that I really liked as well. So 10 out of 10, I would recommend this for sunsets. That said, there were a few sunset shots that I incorrectly exposed and they lost all trace of these beautiful colors. This one of the bus was taken in the same 10-minute span as this one of the sunset, and yet it looks overcast and crappy out and the snow looks yellow. I think because I was shooting directly into the sun, I probably didn't adjust my shutter speed well enough, and it blew everything out. This one of my friends walking into the sunset had the opposite problem. It's underexposed, and the colors look super muddy and crappy. So my takeaway here is that this film looks really, really good when the exposure is right on the money, and it loses a lot of its luster if the exposure is off even a little bit. I shoot a lot of film, and I got a great light meter. I very rarely lose frames to exposure issues like I did with this film. So finally, let's look at the natural light shots taken in overcast weather. I knew when I was taking these that they would probably be pretty boring. I was trying to burn through the end of this roll so that I could start the next one, but I actually think the level of contrast and inky blackness of the shadows made a lot of these photos pretty cool. They're a bit moodier, kind of a greenish, bluish toned, but with ever so slightly reddish highlights. I think with this level of contrast, these photos could look really cool in black and white as well. I got these 2 double exposures on this overcast day, and these are by far some of my favorite last minute, gotta burn through the rest of these frames type shots that I have taken in a while. I would definitely recommend this film for this application. Multiple exposures, like 90% of the ones that I took turned out really cool, and they have adequate contrast to make the silhouetted subject really pop. Maybe, honestly, the narrow dynamic range helps too when it comes to multiple exposures, because you kind of want the highlights to blow out when you're doing this kind of like texture X silhouette overlay. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. I'm gonna buy more of it. Overall, I had a lot of fun with it. I got some great results. I am excited to shoot more of it. Now that I have gone over all of my results, told you everything that you need to know about this film, let's talk about Harman, the company, who they are, what they make, what their history is, and what we might see from them in the future. The relationship between Harman, Ilford, and Kentmere is pretty complicated. which is why I thought it might be fun to delve into it a bit in the final section of this video. Harman Photo is a trading name of Harman Technologies, which is one of the world's largest producers of photographic film. The company takes its name from Alfred Harman, who was the founder of the original Ilford company back in 1879. The company was founded as Britannia Works, and later renamed Ilford, Limited, as an ode to the town of Ilford, where it was originally based. Today, Harman Technologies manufactures Ilford Photo and Kentmere. But if Harman manufactures film under the Ilford brand, why is Harman Phoenix not an Ilford branded product? Well, according to the Harman Phoenix Frequently Asked Questions page, we do not have the right to use the Ilford brand for colored products. Which I think is interesting because somebody does have the rights, and they've been using them recently. So who is it? Well, Ilford Ilfacolor is being made in Germany, so it's a Novus coat, or Orwo, or Wolfen, or Egpa even, or whatever you want to call them. I actually don't know entirely what this manufacturer would be called, but I'm pretty sure it is a Novus coat. They use all of these trading names, and they have this factory in Germany, and they're producing all of these other products. Anyway, we know it's the Germans who are licensing the Ilford brand for color products. Ilfacolor is probably repackaged Wolfen NC500, according to some Reddit sleuths, but it seems that Innovascoat is also just licensing the Ilford brand. The history of who actually owns the Ilford brand now is a lot more complicated than you might think. So let's investigate. It gets complicated, but it's fun, I think. So in 1963, the Swiss company Ciba AG began acquiring shares in Ilford as part of a commercial cooperation between Ciba and Ilford in order to develop the product Cibachrome, which was later renamed Ilfachrome in 1992. But then this Swiss company bought all of Ilford in 1969 and sold it to an American paper company in 1989, which merged with Ilford in 1990 to become Ilford Anatech, which was then moved to Moberly in the UK in 1996. Moberly is where the Harman products are being produced to this day. In 1997, it was sold back to the British, Doty Hanson & Co. Great last name. Proper spelling too, but terrible with business because by 2004, the company was completely bankrupt and had debts around 40 million pounds. The 2000s were not a great decade for film companies. So bits and pieces of the Ilford trademark, rights, and manufacturing facilities were sold off to everyone, including a Japanese printer manufacturer, ADOX, and an Australian firm of some kind. I don't know, they don't have a Wikipedia page. And all of these off sales resulted in the formation of Ilford Imaging Europe, GmbH, which is now based in Germany, and they are the ones who hold the Ilford trademark for photographic applications. So despite having this trademark, they have no connection historically with Ilford Photo. They just bought the trademark when the company was going under. After the bankruptcy, the bits of the company that were in the UK, which is where Ilford's history is actually based, were bought by 6 former managers of Ilford Limited. These managers used these UK bits to found Harman Technology in 2005. Harman Technology now licenses the Ilford brand to create black and white products from Ilford Imaging. And Innovascoat, I guess, licenses the Ilford brand to create color products. Or maybe there's some deeper relationship between Innovascoat and Ilford Europe. I don't know, I didn't investigate it. But they're both based in Germany. There might be some like deeper connective tissue between the two brands, but I don't think there is. Anyway, so Harman also has another brand called Kentmere, which produces these beautiful black and white films at a low cost, and it manufactures all of its own film cassettes in a plant that it acquired from Ferrania. In 2018, both Kentmere and Ilford packaging in the line that's made by Harman was refreshed to bear the Harman Technologies branding. So it seems to me that the company might have an interest in developing the Harman brand outside of the Ilford and Kentmere umbrellas, and Harman Phoenix and also the Harman EZ35 camera and some assorted other Harman branded products seem to back that up. That's everything. That's the history, that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. I hope you feel inspired to go and buy a roll of Harman Phoenix and to test it out. If you do want to buy a roll of Harman Phoenix, you can click my affiliate link down below for Freestyle Photo LA. That really helps me out, it helps the channel out, and it helps encourage Freestyle Photo LA to keep these fun experimental films in stock. So go click that, go buy some if you want to try it. Another way that you can support the channel is by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link, which is also in the description, and you can just send me $5. And all of the money that I raise through that link goes right back into improving the quality of the videos on this channel. So hopefully one day hiring a video editor, but also maybe getting better mic equipment so you can't see my lav mic in every single shot. But also things like buying film and gear for me to review and test out, etc., etc. So your support goes a long way. Thank you guys so much to anybody who considers that. That's the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon, next week, probably, with a new video. And then I might take some time off producing videos because I'm gonna be going to Japan. It's so exciting. So there'll be lots of Japanese themed content coming up for you in February and March. And in the meantime, I want you guys to stay sharp and don't forget to keep shooting. Bye guys.